All right, we welcome now and back to our show Tyler Rowley, who is one of our, I don't know, moral advisors, if you would. We like to go to Tyler for all issues, religious and moral. Tyler Rowley, welcome back In the Dugout.
Thank you, Mike. Good to be here.
The theme today in today's show is tolerance or inexcusable silence. That's a Jordan Peterson line in a video I recently saw for him when it talks about what they're trying to do to our kids when it comes to transgender mutilations and conversions and all that. But I want to start with you first because you have not been inexcusably silent. Your organization, I was intrigued by an email I got from your group at the end of August or early September that talked about a sidewalk save. You have a sidewalk supporter program. Tell us what that is and what happened.
Yeah, this was a really interesting save. I was fascinated by the details of it. So we tried to really explain that through our newsletter that went out last week because it involves so many. What was really cool about it is that the save happened, and a save means a woman was showing up for an abortion at Planned Parenthood in Providence, and she decided not to have that abortion, and from what we know, she decided to keep her child. That's a save. And
Because of intervention from your group?
because of an intervention of a pro-lifer, we call them sidewalk supporters, but I'll call them pro-lifers for argument's sake. So the pro-lifer approached her. She was parked in her car on the side of the street. He approached her. Usually when there's only one woman, it, you're driven to your abortion appointment. So when there's one woman, you assume that she must have dropped somebody off. So he was talking to her as if she dropped someone off, her friend. Please call your friend. And she was sort of playing along. She didn't want to say it was her that was there for the abortion. But he said, take this fetal model and go show her. We have these 12-week fetal models that show
Wow.
what a baby looks like in the womb at 12 weeks, and they
You actually
abort them
have
up.
a physical little model.
Yep, it's a little
Wow.
baby, and because they abort them up to 20 weeks over there. So this is only 12 weeks. And when and it was like, we were like, go show her this and it might change your mind. And when she held that, she started to tear up, and it quickly became obvious that she was there for the abortion. And she was sort of ashamed that she was there, so she didn't have anyone drive her there, even though that's the medical instructions, to have
Wow.
someone, because you're having surgery that day. And she said, I can't believe my baby looks like this. And then she started to kind of explain that she was pregnant, but also then she started to go into the negative stuff and the reason she was there. And she had some pretty heavy stuff in her life that she was dealing with. But then what was really cool was that the pro-lifer said, listen, here's pictures of a mom and her baby that this woman was just in your position 6 months ago. She's a save that happened on this sidewalk. Her name's Dianara, and he's flipping through her phone, showing her pictures of her and her baby, and she's starting to get it, and she's starting to see hope, and she's got the phone now, flipping through. And then what the pro-lifer did, he said, hey, let me show you a video of what we did for Dianara a few weeks ago. The Mother of Life Center, which is the local crisis pregnancy center, had their big fundraiser a few weeks ago. So there was a guy there named YG Nightstorm. I don't think that's his baptismal name, but he goes by YG Nightstorm. This guy ran for Congress in Georgia. He's a force, and he was the keynote speaker. And they have a video up on YouTube of YG talking about how brave this woman was, because she was there. Dianara was at the Mother of Life Center Rose Gala, the fundraiser. So he was talking about how brave Dianara was, and he was praying for her, and he was speaking about the issue of abortion. And you can watch this 3 to 4 minute clip on YouTube of YG talking, and Dianara is there, and she's crying, and everyone's praying for her. And the woman on the sidewalk is watching this. It's almost like her life in the future, of what could be possible. So she's starting to see, wow, there's a whole community of people that believe in me, that will support my baby, that will support me. And she sees it. It clicks, and she says, please take me to the Mother of Life Center. So this guy gets in his car, and she follows him, and she goes to the Mother of Life Center, where they obviously don't perform abortions, but they'll do an ultrasound, and they'll give her
Wow. Very cool.
the information that she needs. So So
Well,
yeah, it was really cool because
every life is so precious, right? I mean, you're not going to stop the scourge of that in this state, but it must make you guys feel wonderful just to save one life. And I know you. Any idea how many sidewalk saves you can document here in Rhode Island?
dozens throughout. I'd say there's probably 10 a year. So
Yeah. Well,
10
congratulations.
babies a year. And we say abortion, you look at a beautiful baby on day one that he's born. You got that beautiful picture in the hospital. And I always tell people the difference between pro-life and pro-choice is that beautiful face
That's
and
right.
the killing of that beautiful face.
That's right. All
Uh,
right. I got it. We got to move quickly here. So I
sure.
know we could talk a lot. I want to get to our second topic with you. And that's speaking of killing a beautiful face. I believe that our schools and our left wing activists may not be killing children to the point of death, but they are destroying their lives emotionally, hormonally, physically, mutilating their bodies, corrupting their minds with this transgender and over sexualization propaganda that we're seeing in schools. Our viewers are aware of the story of the Westerly priest who wrote a letter to Westerly school officials saying, stop the obscenity, stop the pornography. We interviewed Father Capraverti yesterday. Here's our article. Anyone can see it on Ocean State Current. Tyler, it seems to me, tell me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me while the church has always been outspoken in protecting the unborn, I haven't heard a lot from the Catholic Church or other religious leaders about protecting our children when it comes to the, as Father Capraverti called it, the crap and the smut they're being taught in schools. Am I missing it, or have they been strangely silent?
There's a handful of very, very good priests in this diocese who speak out against this stuff, and there's a handful of cowardly priests and religious leaders who do not speak out against this. So depending on which parish you go to, you may be getting the truth from bold priests, or you might be getting priests who are afraid to bring up any sexual topic, because they think the church has disqualified themselves from speaking about it. But I think it's more that they're afraid to offend their parishioners, and the money starts going out of the
Yeah, and we
basket.
talked about that yesterday with the father, and I said, well, we kind of get the same thing here with our organization, the Center for Freedom and Prosperity, our Ocean State Current. Listen, we take positions that aren't popular. We have people every day unsubscribing from our email list when we say something objectionable. But you know what we find? That we attract more people than we lose.
Right.
So while, yeah, you might lose a few people in your parish who disagree, I mean, you're probably more likely to attract more people. What your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, this is the great lie of the last 60 years that the church has bought into, that we need to, this goes back to the 60s, where the church said we need to sort of become more like the world, and we'll start attracting all these secularists, and the Protestants will start flowing into our churches, and it hasn't worked. And the other side has been saying, no, you stand as a beacon of truth. You let people pummel you and tell you that you're bigoted, and you just stand for truth, and then over time history will show that you were actually the charitable, truthful
That's right.
person that stood for goodness. And we failed in a large portion of the church for 60 years. Part of my mission is to wake us up to that fact and say, can we start now just speaking the truth and being a beacon of light, and stop.
And it's not just speaking about the truth; it's also standing against obvious evil.
Obvious.
In fact, Father Capraverti said it great, because when I asked him about, have you and the church lost your moral authority given all the scandals with priests and children in recent decades, he goes, well, all I'm going to say is I can speak for me, that I'm not going to be muzzled by the actions of former priests, because that's what Satan wants. Satan wants us to be intimidated and to be quiet on these important moral issues. I thought that was a great comment.
That's 100% true. I mean, that would be a great tactic to sort of demoralize the people based on the past, rather than, I mean, everybody knows this in sports. You have a terrible season, you have terrible 10 seasons, but that doesn't mean that you can't get up and you perform your best, and you lead your team the best that you can, and ultimately you're going to be judged by God on what you did with your life. So if you're just going to sit there and say, hey, I can't do anything because people came before me and they messed things up, Well, you'll be judged by that yourself. So
All right, final question for you, and thanks again for your time, Tyler. Any hope? You mentioned you might be aware of a handful of priests who have spoken out. We're well aware, and we've documented and going to promote our interview with Father Capraverdi. Any hope that this westerly open letter to school officials might spark a more organized and substantial reaction by you, Catholic Church, or any other religious institution?
yeah, I think efforts like this are always effective. And I think that, I look at someone like Matt Walsh, right, from the Daily Wire.
Yeah.
Matt Walsh decided to take it upon himself. One day he woke up, he said, wait a second, the local hospital here in Tennessee, in Nashville, is cutting off little girls' breasts and giving kids cross-sex hormones. And now they have legislation that's going through that state. They think it's going to pass. And so that made me look in Rhode Island. And you should have me on to talk about this later because I'm doing more research on it. But Hasbro Children's Hospital does the same thing. All the crazy, sick, perverted stuff they do to kids
Wow.
at other hospitals, they do right there in Providence.
I love to talk to you about that. Consider that a done deal. When you've got stuff documented and you can share with us, let's do that. All right, Tyler Rowley, thanks again for joining. I see you're in your car. You're on transit, so thanks for pulling over. Glad you did it safely, not while you're driving. Thanks
No,
for pulling over and talking with us on In the Dugout. We'll have you back soon. Definitely interested in that.
God bless. Thank you.
All right, Tyler Rowley. God bless to you as well here on In the Dugout.